So now that we've talked to you a little bit about your bill, let's talk to you a little bit about financial aid or how you may pay for that bill. We're really lucky today to have Jana Parks, our Director of Financial Aid Office, here with us. So Jana, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Cassie, and greetings, everyone, and welcome to the financial aid portion. I am the Director of Financial Aid. I have been with Baker for approximately 17 years, but only in this director role for like 3 years. So I graduated from Baker with my bachelor's degree and master's degree. So Baker has just really been my home for a long time, and I hope that your students and your families can find a place here like I did. Our office, as this screen shows, is located in Denius Hall. That is where our welcome center, or where you may have met the admissions staff when you came for a visit. So same building. We're available 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. We are back in the office like Amy mentioned in her portion. So you are welcome to come visit us, or you can contact us here at the email or phone number provided. So a couple other things that we're going to go through today. We're going to go over financial aid eligibility, student loans, outside scholarships. We're going to talk a little bit about books, campus work, and then we'll allow some time at the end for some questions. So let's talk first about financial aid eligibility. And if you will grab, it is the light purple sheet in the folder so that you can follow along. So really what this comes down to is your GPA and credit hours. Those affect your eligibility to receive financial aid. And the biggest thing initially that your student needs to know is that in order to maximize aid eligibility, they need to be enrolled in at least 12 credit hours. I would actually recommend maybe doing 15 hours if they can. And this is just to keep the student on track to graduate in 4 years, and then also leaves them that room if the student falls behind and needs to drop hours. So that's the biggest thing for them to do right now. Now, as far as maintaining that financial aid eligibility, there are hours that the student needs to successfully complete, GPA that they must maintain. And of course, students that are athletes will have several different requirements that they need to meet. If you're a non-athlete, you obviously have academic eligibility for the entire university. And then if you're receiving federal aid, we have this federal student aid eligibility. And then athletes on top of that have the NAIA eligibility that they have to meet. So I'm just going to be discussing federal student aid eligibility. So if your student is utilizing federal funds, that's where this comes into play. So a student, in order to maintain satisfactory academic progress, they must successfully complete 67% of the hours they attempt. They must also maintain a cumulative GPA of 2.0, and they must be able to successfully complete the degree program in 150% of the program's length. So we usually review all of this at the end of May. So your student has fall and spring before we would review this. So just to kind of dig into that 67%, because I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you, let me give you some examples. So a student who attempts 12 credit hours in the fall semester, but only is able to complete 9 of those successfully. And then maybe that student enrolls in 15 hours for the spring semester, hoping to make up for the hours they didn't pass. And again, only successfully completes 9. You now have a student who has completed successfully 18 credit hours, the 9 in the fall and the 9 in the spring. And we have to take that and divide it by the attempted hours, which was the 12 in the fall originally that they enrolled in, and 15 in the spring. So 18 over the 27, so the 12 plus 15 is 27 credit hours. So the 18 successfully completed hours over the 27 attempted credit hours gets them to that 67%. So they would just be meeting that requirement. Now, a student also needs to maintain a cumulative GPA. So it's not a semester GPA, it is their overall GPA, and it needs to be at 2.0. So we do see students that may struggle in one semester, but as long as they are able to maintain a cumulative GPA of 2.0, they are good. The 150% of a program's length, most of our programs here at Baker are 4 years. There's one exception, which is music education. and it's a 5-year program. So if you're in a 4-year degree program, which will be a majority of students, you have 6 years to complete that program. And then of course, a student with a 5-year degree program length would have 7.5 years to complete their education. So now let's move on to student loans. So you should have received an award offer that detailed out your scholarship, grants, and loans by now. On that award letter, you were given the opportunity to circle A or D, which meant accept or decline for each of those line items. If you accepted your student loans, then we're going to need you to complete some additional steps in order to receive those. That information should have been shared in that initial award offer, at least the information on how to complete those. But we also took the time last week to send out emails to students that had notified us that they were accepting their federal student loan eligibility, and sent them emails indicating what they still needed to do to accept those funds. So if you received an email, or if you want to go back and check, I would recommend doing that just to see if there's anything else that we need from you. Please note that there is a Parent Plus loan that is available. It's not on that financial aid offer letter because it is something that the parents need to pursue, and they need to go through an approval process. So if you are a parent and you want to take out a parent loan to help with expenses, you'll want to go to studentloans.gov, log in using your FSA credentials. So those are the FSA login information that you were given and that you used on your student's FAFSA when you completed it. The parent loan is credit-based, so there will be a requirement of a clean credit history. And then you can start that process of applying for those loans at any time. We ask that usually students wait till after June 1st, and we're after that point, so we are good. If you are denied the loan, like because of credit information, you cannot qualify for a parent loan, please know that this does roll additional student loan eligibility to your student. So if you, for some reason, believe that you may not be able to obtain that loan, but your student is still needing additional loan funding, it might be worth going through the process to get that, that loan declined, so that then your student might be eligible for some additional loan funds. We also offer private credit loans. So on our website, we offer a list of lenders that students have utilized in the past. But you're welcome to use whoever that will do a student loan for you. These loans are credit-based. They are in the student's name. So because the students are at an age where they probably haven't set up a whole credit history, they will likely need a co-borrower on that loan in order to be approved. So you can co-sign on that as a parent, or maybe a grandparent or somebody else who's willing to sign off as a co-borrower. So financial aid and outside scholarships. So many of you may have received scholarships or outside scholarships from a local organization, or maybe from your school that they were going to as a high school student. And so we need to know about those. If we know about those and we can get that information, then when the business office sends bills, then they can account for that information. So in our office, if you have donor letters or copies of the checks that they're wanting to send, if you can send those over to our office, we'll be happy to process those and then get those to the business office to get them deposited and put on your account. If the donors are still waiting for like maybe confirmation of your enrollment at Baker, we can provide that at this time. Also, if they're wanting to know where to send those checks, please make them payable to Baker University. Okay, on to books. So I'm going to be real brief here, and the only thing that I want to hit on, because I think it will be discussed later, is that students need to plan on bringing money for books. So please set aside a little bit of money for them to have for their fall books. Even if your student will be receiving more financial aid, loans, scholarships, grants, whatever, than what their actual tuition and fees will be, that money will not be made available to them prior to the semester starting. So it may be 2 weeks into the semester before they're able to get those funds. So please plan on bringing some money for books. Work study. So some of your students may have had $1 of federal student loan, federal work eligibility on that financial aid offer. It's not indicative of the amount of money that they can actually earn by working. It's just an indication that the student is in our first group of students eligible to search for a campus work job. So your student that did have $1 of federal work study eligibility is able to come to the financial aid office as soon as the semester begins to look through the job offerings that are available. We might also be emailing those out to their Baker email, so also have them watch for that. If your student did not have that $1 of federal work study on their financial aid offer, please know that they are still allowed to have work study on campus. It's just that we will wait for that second movement so they can come to the office after September 15th to look for remaining jobs that might be available. Please know that most work study jobs are only 6 to 8 hours a week, and students are paid minimum wage. So this typically is not money that can actually be used to pay for tuition and fees, but maybe rather some money, a few extra bucks for students to have at the coffee bar or dining options around town. Students will need an I-9 form along with Social Security card and a picture ID in order to apply for a job. So they will complete the I-9 form in the Human Resource Office, and they will need to bring a copy of their Social Security card and picture ID. So at this time, I'll open it up for questions that you guys might have, anything that maybe I didn't address that you were hoping I would talk about. And I know financial aid can be personal to families and students. So feel free to use that email also that was provided at the very beginning, the jparks@bakeru.edu, to submit questions that you might have.
So the money you get from work study doesn't actually go to your tuition?
That is correct. It is kind of like a paycheck that they receive. So it will not be applied to the account.